2 MMA prospect, Dodge Sports talent. I can go on and on about Khai Wu. He's kind enough to join us today ahead of his fight. And yeah, Khai, thanks for joining me, man. How are you?
Thank you for your time. I appreciate it. I'm good. I'm excited. This is awesome. I haven't been able to fight in a while, so this is really nice.
Yeah, we're going to get on that in a second here because I do want to talk about that. You had a layoff during the pandemic, basically. But for people who don't know you, you're relatively new to the scene. You know, came into Bellator on your second pro fight. I've actually interviewed Cass Bell ahead of that fight. You know, how did you get started in mixed martial arts? What was it that got you intrigued into the sport?
So a lot of people don't actually know this, but I'm assuming with all these interviews I'm going to do, this question might get popped up a few times and then people know. But my brother-in-law is Dave Camarillo.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. So I've known him since I was like 2. But I started jiu-jitsu at the age of 9 because I got bullied in middle school. And it's because when I went to Asia, 3rd grade to 5th grade, Taiwan specifically, I went there to go learn Mandarin. And then when I came back, I was like the foreigner, the foreign kid, you know? So I got bullied a little bit here and there. Not, you know, just the usual, you know, get jumped after school, get a bunch of, you know, basketballs thrown at you. Or
there's nothing usual about that.
Well, you know, I guess for me, because like growing up, a lot of like Asian kids specifically, because we're kind of more nerdy, you know, and this and that, we kind of got bullied back in the day. And then so then I started jiu-jitsu when I was 9. Dave kind of taught me, and he was the head instructor at AKA at the time. That was when you had Koscheck, Swick, and Fitch all in the same division. Ooh. And that was like at the peak of like, you know, the AKA days. Well, I mean, they got Khabib now, but you know, back then when they were kind of like old school still. So that's kind of what happened. And then that's how I slowly got into it.
Slowly at 9 years old.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, I did gi, but I didn't really like it. I was like a physical kid. Like people thought like, oh, you're Dave's little brother, you should be great, you know? But It's like, I wasn't athletic. I wasn't the killer that everyone thought I was supposed to be. And I didn't really like it. I didn't like the physicality. Like I always tell people this, when you train in a gi and someone mounts you and you're a little kid, your skin gets pinched and all that stuff. I just didn't like it, man. It wasn't fun. And you got to keep in mind, I'm 9. Dave was old school. He did not let me do kids class. He was just like straight up, you're jumping to adult class, you know? So that's how it got started.
Well, I mean, that sets you up to where you're at today. I mean, you've fought well, and your last streak has been great, man. So outside of fighting, what do you do? What are you into? Is it video games? Are you an outdoors guy? What is it?
So I found that once I started fighting, I'm either all in or all out. That's the type of mentality I have. And then when I went in fighting, I realized I got a lot of injuries in the beginning, like just little stuff, like nothing like where I broke like Anderson Silva in my leg. I mean, I fractured my leg, but point is, it's just I didn't do anything crazy in the beginning that got me a bunch of injuries. You know, it was just small stuff, but it was nagging. It was consistent. So when you go to practice, it's just like, hey coach, I can't do the warm, my shoulder hurts, or like, hey coach, this, hey coach, you know. So this was kind of annoying, but I realized I needed to spend more time doing other things. And then I loved comic books growing up. I loved watching like all the Marvel movies. So me and my friends started watching, you know, like getting together for all these like movies nights. I didn't really play video games until like the pandemic, I guess. I got on Call of Duty Warzone, which was freaking awesome. I'm not really a video game guy anymore. And then there's just like, I do love the outdoors. I love going hiking, going to the beach. I love getting boba drinks. I don't know if you know what that is.
Yeah, of course.
I love boba drinks. I love going to get boba drinks with a bunch of friends. I have a bunch of friends who are foodies, and it was
sucks.
Yeah, I know that it's horrible, but it's funny how the world kind of collided, because one of my friends, his name's Tam, his Instagram is Ravenous Fork. He loves MMA. He's like, he knows more about MMA than I do. Like he doesn't train like that. He's not a amateur fighter or anything. He's just an enthusiast. And he knows about UFC 1, the background story, which gyms trains with who. Sometimes when I have a fight coming, I even ask him like, hey, my opponent's out of this gym. And he goes, oh, well, he has these guys that you probably may know. I'm like, how do you know all this? Because he spends his time on Sherdog and Tapology just for fun. He just loves it that much. So him and I connected, and every so often on the weekends, he would take me to one of his foodie events. Like, there's like these pop-up boba shops, or like they invite him over for a bunch of photo shoots and stuff. And I just tag along and eat the food, and I just have the photo, or I'll do something, so it's kind of cool. So yeah, definitely. I love food, hiking, I love reading too, philosophy, psychology. So every now and then, I when Barnes and Nobles was open back in the day, they're closing down now, but
Yeah.
I would try to go there, pick up a few books here and there. But now it's just a lot of it is now I run my own YouTube channel. I got a lot of YouTube friends that really like inspired me to go do some of this stuff. So I'm definitely on Instagram, social media, and YouTube a lot more. I'm trying to edit videos, and put stuff together.
So you mentioned Marvel movies. Which is your most excited? What movie are you most excited for coming up? Because they got a whole slew of them.
Yeah, so the Eternals trailer just
I just saw it. It was amazing.
It was amazing. Did you see the Black Knight?
Yes,
Kit
Harington.
I couldn't believe. I mean, I knew it was going to be in the movie, but at the end, he said, I could lead the Avengers. It was the other guy, and I was like, I mean, they talked about Cap's gone, Iron Man's gone. It was so exciting, dude. But I'm not sure what. It's just so crazy right now. I think I'm interested in the Loki show that's coming out. Shang Chi looks insane, and I thought Shang Chi looks good because it's not just that he's like the first Asian, Marvel character. It's the fact that it's the real Mandarin. Like he's back. It's like we got a quick one pulled on us, in the previous movie,
with Ben
but
Kingsley,
now the Mandarin actually in here, and I just could not believe it. So I definitely want to see some of those references. And then apparently they have some kind of like Iron Fist Easter egg tie-in. I'm a huge Iron Fist fan.
I didn't know that. Easter egg for Iron Fist. I'm hoping so. It makes sense. They both fight.
Exactly. Yeah, you sound like you're a bit of a comic book fan yourself.
Look, when I got married, my now son, he was 7, I think, and he had seen Marvel here and there. I was like, no, you don't understand. This is like an experience. We're going through all of them. So I got to go through all of them again. And now he's all about it.
Yeah, dude, it's so awesome. I'm so excited. When I talk to someone that knows, like this kind of stuff, I'm like, oh, there you go. Cultured, man.
Yes, exactly. I think you're excited for Shang-Chi most because of the martial arts aspect. Same with me.
That is huge. That is huge. And it's more like the cinematography too, that they're bringing in.
Right.
It's like, remember Black Panther? It was a little bit darker. It was a little bit like.
Have you seen it recently though? Let me ask you that.
Which one? Black Panther?
Yeah.
Yeah, I did. I have.
They edited it, and it's not as dark as it was in theaters.
Oh, okay. So you know what I mean then?
Yeah, it drove me nuts.
Yeah. So it was a little bit darker and stuff, and I love the purplish hue that they had going on. But with Shang-Chi, it's like there's like flying dragons and tigers for no reason in like the old era. Like they're gonna go back in time to talk about like how the Mandarin came to be or something. And just seeing Asian culture like that is just insane. Because who doesn't love ninjas or monks or warriors like up in the like ancient mountains of Asia? Like who doesn't love that storyline?
Speaking of warrior, have you watched that HBO show?
Yes, dude.
I just started. God. It's so good. I'm like
I just finished it.
Holy crap.
My gosh, this is so good. I actually have a friend. Shout out to my friend Jason Chu, who he did a soundtrack. He did a song for the show.
What?
So super badass. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, this show was. You know what? I'm so shocked that there's not as much attention on this show as it should have been.
It's
like
amazing.
I thought the show was okay. Like it's gonna be like fighting and this and that. Man, this is like the Game of Thrones, but of like the San Francisco modern era, Right. So I'm like, dude, so many guys are betraying, backstabbing each other, and it was so good.
I love it. Like 6 episodes in, I'm like, this is great. This show's great. And the choreography is great too with the Kung Fu and stuff. I love it.
Yes, and season 3 just got announced. They're moving it to HBO Max. I'm so excited because they kind of canceled it at the end of season 2. I guess the ratings weren't that good, but then it's like one of those shows like The Office where it just caught heat right after season 2. It ended. So many people started going like, "There's no way you're going to end it like this." And then I guess HBO Max loved it and they picked it up.
Yep. We got to talk about fights now, not movies, because I can go all day, man. I really could. I love this kind of stuff. It's great. So, I mentioned Cass Bell. I spoke with him back in 2018. That's actually the first time I talked with Cass. You got a loss early in your career, and I don't feel like that's a bad thing. I feel like that's very important for fighters to realize that they're not invincible. People are so caught up in being the next Floyd Mayweather or the next Khabib that they're like, I'm a loss kills them. Look at Cody Garbrandt, for example. That one loss has got him going 1-3 now. 1-4. You're right. He lost TJ twice. So what did that loss do for you so early on? Did it change how you saw yourself as a fighter?
Absolutely. I'm not invincible. That's like the first thing. It's like, I thought in the gym, when you have your like scrambling moments, you're like, I could pull out it. Like if I was ever in a real fight, like I'd be able to pull out of it and whatnot. On Tapology, it says I lost due to ground and pound, but it's actually wrong. I lost due to submission.
I'll change that because I work for Tapology.
Oh, perfect. Thank you. It was a guillotine. I actually got caught in a guillotine, and that was like one of his best moves.
Right.
And with that fight, what I had learned was I need more experience. I don't know if you saw that fight, if you're actually there, because didn't actually record the fight, but I was actually winning the first and second round. I was leg kicking him to death. His legs was purple. And I remember during the fight, I'm like, he's so awkward, long, and he just had so much experience. I took a look at his amateur career afterwards, and I'm like, dude, this guy has like 40 fights as an amateur, man. Like, it's somewhere ridiculous. And you know what I had? I was 3-1 in MMA, and I'm just like, what am I doing? I'm competing against these pros that are 0-0, but I'm literally 3-1 as an amateur. And I kind of had to turn pro. But it was just, I realized it's just more cage time. I just need more cage time. So I'm going to take every fight I could possibly get. I don't care if I win or lose. It's one of those things where it's like, I turn pro, I can't go back. So I got to just every opportunity I can, take everyone I can, and just don't say no, even if I lose. It's okay, but at the same time, I knew, not to take ridiculous amounts of damage in a lopsided fight if I was going to get matched up, if that makes sense.
Right.
But that Cass Bell fight, I remember training for the first Bellator fight, how bright the lights were. And I used to, in high school, I used to watch Bellator when I came home from school. When I was eating dinner, I'd watch Bellator, Eddie Alvarez, Michael Chandler. And I was just like, man, this is so awesome. Imagine one day fight. It's like, when you're a kid watching NBA, games, right, and then you're in the NBA. It's like, dude, and for me, headlining again, the headliners, the guys that were in there were like guys I looked up to. I believed it was Rory McDonald, King Mo, those guys. That
was a huge card. It was 199.
Oh man, it was exciting. Giant, it was so exciting. Yeah. Ryan Bader and this and that. And I'm like, dude, I've seen all these guys, man, and it's crazy. And I was the fight right before the main card started. So that was crazy too, because that's where everyone was kind of like getting ready for the main cards. And I remember the fight, and I remember having to deal with the crowd. There was an eye poke in the fight unintentionally. And I just remembered there was a pause, and I was like, okay. I turn around, face the corner, and then I remember there's some guys yelling at me from the crowd. They're like, dude, suck it up. They're like just saying a bunch of stuff. And I'm like getting nervous. I'm like, dude, what do I do? I mean, I'm not faking it. And then there's literally after the fight, there's a cut in my eye. I had to go to the docs for that. But I was like, during the middle of the fight, I was just panicking. And then there's so much bright lights. And then I saw Scott Coker. I saw Rich Cho in the corner. And then I saw it was just crazy. And I was like, and then that's when I knew. I was like, I'm meant for this sport, because instead of shying away, I was like, this is awesome.
Let's go.
Awesome. I love this. And even after the fight, I'm not saying I don't care, but even when I lost, I was like, dude, I love that. I love that lifestyle, just training so much for a fight, that build up to meet this opportunity. Yeah, I failed. This is like my bane. I'm like Batman. I got to go back to the drawing board and freaking rebuild myself up. And what do? It wasn't so much I got out skilled in every facet. I was not only holding my own against the guy who was, taller than me, stronger than me, faster than me, who had 40 plus fights. Not only was I holding my own, but I was winning. And I just made that one mistake, which cost me. And that mistake was the lack of experience. And that's when I was like, okay, I just need experience. A lot of it is experience, trial and error. And that's what I did. And I went back to the drawing board. And I don't think I've made that mistake since, in my opinion. The second Bellator fight that I had, I truly still think I won. I don't look at it as damn, I lost. What should I have done better? I mean, I definitely took some lessons from it. Don't get me wrong. But right. I don't reflect back on that loss with a sour taste in my mouth. Dude, I should have, pulled the trigger more. It's like, dude, I'm in San Jose in the guy's hometown. Like I lost him on a split decision. It's like, okay, it's one of those things where it's got to like literally just dust yourself off and act like you want and keep going.
So now you are on a, what is it, 4-fight win streak, going for number 5 against Alejandro Rodriguez. What clicked?
I'll be honest.
Has it not clicked yet?
I don't think it has clicked yet. I think I've been exploring in my last 4 fights. Okay. So, and let me tell you this, the last fight against Isaiah, in Bellator, I fractured my shin. I actually kicked him in the middle of the fight, and I didn't know I fractured my shin. I took some time off. I thought I was going to retire because I was like, heading into my next fight, I'm 2-2. I'm like, dude, I don't like this. I went into my next fight. It was in Taiwan. I fought a guy that I thought I should have finished. I fractured his forearm too in the first round. He even told me after in the back, he's like, dude, you fractured my arm. You could see it in the fight. It's kind of limp. It was like a Jared Cannonier, Robert Whitaker type thing.
Oh, yeah.
But I just didn't capitalize on it because I was so afraid of losing. I'm like, look, if I lose this fight, it's 2-3. There's almost no way I could bounce back from that. Like the way I was thinking, I have pressure, outside pressure too, a lot of sponsors, this and that. I'm just all in my head. So then I was like, what do I have to do? So after that fight, I talked to my coach. I was like, look, I might retire, man. I'm 3-2, not bad. Going out, kind of who gets going on a winning record, pro fighter. They could say they kind of did it. And then literally 3 hours after I had a phone call with him on it, we get a call for a 145-pound title fight, 3.5 weeks from now. But I need to get some blood work done first. So we weren't even sure, but it was like 3 weeks from now. He just called me. He's like, hey, I know we just talked about it, but do you think you'd want to do this? Or do you think anyone else that you may know want to do it? Cause I'm jumping up a weight class. And I was like, I'm done. I'll take it. I was like, I'm in. You got me. So then I just took that fight, and I knew, I was like, look, if I lose that fight, I don't care. If I win, I just overcame some odds and whatnot. I win that fight. It wasn't even like a quick knockout or anything. It was a grueling 5-round fight. It was like one of the worst and best fight experiences I've ever had. It was just, you had to dig deep. And then after the fight, I remember 2 weeks later, I went to the hospital, and because my shin got an infection. It was like there's like a golf ball in my shin. Oh, wow. And it turned out it was a staph infection. It was cellulitis. In my shin. It's basically where the inside of the bone that was fractured was scratching the inside of my skin, and it created a cut on the inside. Yeah. So it wasn't like on the outside, it was the inside. So then I had to take a bunch of probiotics. I took 6 months off. And then my shin, I had to let it recover. But after those 2 fights, I was like, man, if I wasn't meant to be fighting, I would not have fought through the fractured shin, the jumping up a weight class, taking a short notice fight. I just found all the reasons that I could have gave up and quit, but I didn't. So then when I took that return fight back, I was a little bit angry, a little bit more motivated. That's why that fight, I got a 2nd round finish. But that fight,
Peruvian necktie, right?
It's actually not a Peruvian necktie. The grip, there's a grip difference. So it's actually a Chinese, we call it Chinese necktie because there's a Japanese necktie already. There's a Peruvian necktie. Hey. So we just call it a Chinese necktie because of the grip. But it was just one of those fights where this guy was tough. He took my back early in the 1st round. 2nd round, he was really Muay Thai stance-ish, but I just kind of like ran right through him, man. I just threw a bunch of kicks from the left side because I worked my left kick. It's like one of those movies, where you injure your right arm and you can only use your left side. So I injured my right leg, so I couldn't kick at all. So then I just used my left leg the whole training camp, and that became my weapon. So then I won that fight. However, in that fight, I injured my ankle, and I had a few injuries. The following fight after that, my last fight, January 2020, I broke my nose 2 weeks before the fight. I was sparring with a bigger guy. He was just kind of hyped up, excited, and he just hit me right in the nose on accident. It was totally on accident, not even hard. It was like a switch kick to the head right in the bridge of my nose, broke it. I went to the doctors, and I stayed off social media because I didn't want anyone to see my eyes were all puffy and take me out of the fight. And I was like, I'm the main event. This is the 3rd main event I've ever done. So I'm like, I'm on a roll. I need to make sure this fight is everything on the line. So I played a little bit safer in that fight. So what I'm trying to get at is every single one of my last fights, I've had like injuries or something that didn't flow together that prevented me from putting on the performance that I wanted to. during the whole COVID, I got to actually finally sit down and not have any fights in front of me. I get to really like dissect on my style and really build. It was basically like just no fights, no pressure, just purely having fun. And then based off that, I was like, I would watch my old previous fights. I'm like, man, I sucked. Man, that was horrible. And I was really hard on myself. I just took a look at all the ways I could have beaten myself and I tried to fix those holes. So then I realized it's just, I wasn't, I take inspiration from a lot of other fighters, but I just didn't care about comparing myself to them anymore. It was just more about like, what can I do to fix those holes? So that's what really started clicking. I don't even think I'm going to get it yet. And even going into this next fight, I don't think everything's going to click. I think some things are, but when everything clicks in place, I think you'll really see that performance,
So what can fans expect from you this upcoming fight? Why should they buy the ticket?
Oh man, that's a good one. They should buy a ticket because I've been training with my coaches and a new team. There's a lot of new styles that I've kind of adapted and picked up, a lot of new skills. And also, this is the first live audience show in Colorado, I believe, and it's live stream. And I mean, who doesn't want to get out and then support their local fighters? And he's a local fighter, so they're bringing me in to fight one of their locals. But Colorado seems so cool. I was there not too long ago for Sparta, cornered one of my teammates. And out there, it was so much fun. It was so awesome. I mean, it was in Wyoming, but still, it's Colorado was like right next door.
Was that the Dave LeDuc card?
No. It was it was an all-Ami fight, I believe. There's only one pro fight in the main event, but yeah, it was awesome. It was awesome. So, I'm looking for finishes. That's what I'm looking for next fight, especially with the whole elevation change too. I'm going to be out there a week beforehand because I'm not gonna make a Cain Velasquez mistake when he fought Werdum, so
yeah, that was rough.
Yeah, so I'm definitely gonna go out there a week early, and then my weight's been on point. I'm already super light. Man, everything's just flowing. I feel like it's gonna be one of those fights where the locals you're gonna see and they're like, dude, that was freaking awesome. I want this kid back out here, and just been working on some little, I don't want to call it secret stuff, but I'm not even sure it's going to work yet. So I don't really want to say it, but I'm definitely working on it. So hopefully in the fight, you might see like a little Masvidal moment or something. I don't know.
I love it. Khai, thanks for coming on the show, man. Where can everybody find you on social media?
So I believe Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. I had to get a TikTok because, the quarantine.
That's the new thing.
That's the new thing. But I believe you can just find me at KHAIWU. And then my Facebook, you can find me under the same thing, and YouTube as well. If you can't find me there, just type in Khai the Shadow Wu. You can find me somehow.
I'm going to pitch out one thing about your last name.
Yeah.
And you should change your nickname to Triple U.
Triple U. Why is that?
W and a U.
That's pretty good. It's pretty. I never thought.
Man, I can't believe you haven't heard that.
No, I've never heard that before. Oh, dude, that's Triple H. That's awesome. I'm gonna talk to one of my WWE friends about it. She's actually the first Chinese female WWE wrestler, Zeta Zhang. She's actually. I don't know where she's at now, but I'm gonna talk to her about like, what do you think about these nicknames, huh? Because she's good with those nicknames,
Khai, thanks again, man. I'll be watching. Thanks, I'll be screaming at the TV for you. Take it easy, my man.
I appreciate your time.
Later, man.